Hello friends, followers and channel members, and welcome to my top 10 questions that I'm currently getting asked about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and specifically the Airbus A320neo. In this short video I'm going to cover lots of things like why we're getting crashed to desktops when launching, where is the A320nx in the simulator, ILS isn't working, where do I get the cabin announcements from, how do I work out the performance calculations, and what are my graphics settings. So without hanging around, let's crack on. Question number 1. My A320nx is not in the community folder even though I have downloaded it. Alright, so your community folder looks something like this. There you can see I've got all my liveries, etc. And normally in here for the Airbus A320nx, that is the folder that you're used to seeing, folder A320nx. And you've downloaded it from the FlyByWire website, or you've used the installer and you're scrolling through and you can't find it, but you're certain you downloaded it. Well, what you need to remember is the A320nx is now its own aircraft. It no longer uses the A320 default from Microsoft Flight Simulator and Azobo. So this is now the folder that you are looking for. If you have got the FlyByWire aircraft A320neo in your community folder, this means you have correctly downloaded the Airbus A320nx, and it is there. Okay, that was question number 1. Question number 2, why do I keep getting a crash to desktop when launching the simulator? Okay, this was actually a problem I had myself, and after a bit of investigation, it came down to liveries, and specifically Airbus A320nx liveries for the new FlyByWire version. So the FlyByWire A320nx is now forked off. As I said, it no longer relies on the default A320 from Microsoft and Azobo. It is its own aircraft, which means it requires its own liveries. And the FlyByWire guys have done an amazing thing. They've put into their installer for us, they've also created a livery converter. So if you launch the installer, you've probably got something like this. As you can see, I've got 39 incompatible liveries in my community folder, so I can go ahead and select all of them or select any particular one and confirm, and it will convert them for me, and it will turn the A320nx liveries designed for the default A320 to now work with the A320nx new version that has been forked off. Unfortunately, not all these liveries are convertible, and it's nobody's fault. It's not FlyByWire's fault. It's not the livery creator's fault. They just don't work. So if you convert one of these liveries and then suddenly you can't launch your Airbus, you can't launch the simulator, it's because you've got one of these corrupt liveries that no longer wants to work. So how do you fix it? Unfortunately, it's trial and error. Best thing you can do is Control A, select everything in your community folder and just cut it and paste it somewhere outside of the simulator into a separate folder on your desktop, anywhere like that, just so your community folder is blank. Don't rename your community folder or anything daft like that. Just do the hard work and delete everything from your community folder, or cut and paste it somewhere separate. Then you can launch the simulator. Launch the simulator with a clean community folder and the simulator will load. After that, exit the simulator, pop the A320nx back in the FlyByWire aircraft, and then you can start to add in some liveries until you find the offending one. Now the chances are it's not going to be one of these Azobo A320 liveries. They were designed for the default A320 and they've always worked. It's going to be a livery that you've converted for the A320nx. One of the other ways around this is to download an A320nx specific livery that has been created and tested already from somewhere like flightsim.to. There's plenty of them popping up now, so you may not need to convert. You can just download a brand new one. So that's why some of you may be getting crashed to desktops when launching the simulator. Okay, question number 3. I've downloaded the A320nx, the new one from FlyByWire. But whenever I launch into the simulator and spawn in at my airport, I've selected the A320 and it's not there. It's not there, or I've selected the A320 and I'm just getting the default version. Well, yeah, that is because the Airbus A320, as I say again, the FlyByWire version is now its own aircraft. So if we go to the world map and let's just pick a gate here, there we go, set for departure, and select up here to choose your aircraft. Well, here you can see I've got all selected. I'm already flying the one I want to fly, but normally if you select all, you get a list like this. So there's plenty of them to find, and you may go ahead and select the Airbus A320neo. That's what you've been used to selecting all this time. And if we go to airliners, of course, here it is, Airbus A320neo. You select that, you are selecting the default Airbus A320neo, not the fly-by-wire version, which means now you need to check this out. You need to download the, you need to select the fly-by-wire simulations version. That is its own aircraft, the A320NX from fly-by-wire simulations. Select that, close that, and fly. And now you'll be flying the fly-by-wire A320NX, not the default version. Question number 4, I'm getting a crash to desktop now on this screen here when trying to select a gate and loading in. The blue bar continues across and then it just crashes to gate, crashes to desktop. Unfortunately, it's the same thing as what we had on crashing when launching the simulator. It's something weird going off in your community folder. Chances are it's an A320NX livery. So the best thing you can do is, once again, if you're getting that problem, empty all the liveries out and bring them back in one by one or bulk by bulk, a small selection just to see which one is causing the crash to desktop. Okay, question number 5. Where do I get my cabin announcements from? Well, my cabin announcements come from a nice little program called Self-Loading Cargo. Now, Self-Loading Cargo is reliant upon FSUIPC. After the World Update number 4 for Microsoft Flight Simulator, FSUIPC was causing issues and was also causing crash to desktops. I believe that has now been fixed, but one of the things that I still will say to this day is FSUIPC version 7.0, which is the very, very first one to come out when the simulator was first released, is still the version I am running and has been completely unaffected by any problems or errors. So if you can find FSUIPC, the original 7.0 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, that is the one I recommend you use, and stick with it and don't upgrade until that one breaks. Okay, on to the next question then. So question number 6. Where do I get my performance calculations from? Okay, so this is a great question. I want to get asked quite a lot, and it is this page just here, webpro.cz. And you can see there is a performance calculator just here, which is very, very straightforward to use. I've got a different tutorial video showing you how this all works, but this is where I can get METAR information very quickly. So if you just see, we can type in there, a bit of a weather request from Manchester, although that's probably not going to work now. Oh, there it is, it's loaded. And there it is, so that's just coming through. And you can then work out your VR speeds if you want to use those. However, one of the things I will say is when these VR speeds, V speeds do populate V1, VR, V2, etc., then they will be slightly higher than what you get in the A320neo, and the reason is this is using the older engines. Okay, so the CFM or the IAE engines, not the Neo engines. The Neo engines obviously a little bit more efficient and more powerful, so your V speeds in the simulator will be less than what you're going to get here. Use the ones in the simulator and not these, but it's great for working out your takeoff weight and your flex temp if you're going to use a flex temp for your takeoff. Okay, so that's where I get my performance calculations from. Which version of the A320NX then do I use? Question number 7. So I use the experimental version. Lots of people ask me this question. We know we've got the stable, the development, and the experimental, and the one I use is always the experimental version. Why? Because it's much more realistic to fly. The flight directors are pretty much spot on now compared to the others, and it's because it uses its own autopilot. I don't use the experimental version just because I can do auto lands. Okay, in fact, I think I'm not even sure I've done an auto land other than to show the feature off in a video. So experimental version all the way, just because it's much better. Okay, now on to another question which lots of us are asking at the moment. Why, when I turn on the LS button in the flight deck, am I not getting any ILS? There's no magenta diamonds for me to follow. Okay, well, unfortunately, this is a small bug. So let's just go into the flight deck. Just give that 10 seconds to load or so. And we need some power, don't we? Let's pop some power on, and external power as well. Okay, so why am I not getting any sort of ILS information when I turn on the landing system green push button just there? Okay, well, the reason for that is, in fact, if I just go ahead and turn these on. The reason for that is because what you need to ensure you have is the ILS frequency put into your RadNav page, and the frequency needs to go into this field just here, the LS field. Okay, so here at Manchester, I think there's a couple of options. I think 109.5 and 111.35. So this isn't actually going to show at the moment just because the aircraft is starting from cold and dark. But if this field is blank, then you're not going to get any ILS information, so you need to pop that in. Where do you get them from? Well, I get them from the Navigraph charts, and there are also free ones available as well on the internet. So you do need to know your frequency for the ILS for that to work and populate. If I now turn that on, okay, that might not work just because we're not actually loaded in. There is also another reason it may not be working here whilst we're actually at the airport, and that is because there is something called a dead zone. If you are directly over or very, very close to the ILS beam, then the aircraft actually loses it. So if you're flying directly overhead the airport, for example, and then you're about to come around, you may temporarily lose that signal, that radio signal, because that's all it is, and then it'll come back when you get a little bit further away from the airport to bring you in. But that's essentially why you're not sometimes getting magenta diamonds here and the landing information displayed with regards to distance. That is a simulator bug. You need to have the frequency in there. In the real world, the A320 does fill that in for you. So hopefully that will come at some point. Okay, question number 9 now. What are my graphics settings? Well, I'm not going to go through and explain all of these to you, but I will show you them. So if you wish, you can pause the video and try to replicate them. So if I just give you a second just to check those out. As I say, I'm not going to explain them all, but certainly there's your chance to see what I have turned on and what I have turned off, etc, etc. And finally, the very last question: what is my streaming schedule? Oh boy, there's a question. Do you know what? I wish I knew the answer to that. In all honesty, it is reliant upon family life. I'm not a full-time YouTuber, so this is a great hobby for me, and the community that has been built around this channel is absolutely unbelievable. At the time of filming this, we're close to 10,000 subscribers, which is fantastic, and a big thank you from me. But my streaming schedule is as close to this as possible. So on Monday, we always do long haul or mileage Monday, however, whatever you want to call that. So we do a long haul flight on a Monday in the Airbus A320. That's normally anywhere between a 5 and 6 hour flight. So that's a full day stream by the time we've set that up and departed, and of course landed, which is great. That makes Mondays worth getting up for. And then most of the streams then will be in an evenings. There are sometimes daytime streams when I can fit those in, but the only thing I will say is there is never a stream usually on a Friday night or Saturday night. That is not set in stone, but we tend to have a couple of nights off, usually because well, family life, why not? So 10 questions, hopefully all answered for you in under 15 minutes. Hopefully that will be of some use to you. If you've got a question I have not answered, then please do leave a comment down below and I will do my best to answer that for you. If you found this useful or you want to see any of these answers put into practice, please hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you in the next live stream. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye bye for now.